This week on the Timelapse Show... Wait, what's the Timelapse Show? Welcome everyone to the Timelapse Show. My name is Steve Barth. I am your host for this show, and this is episode 1 for the week beginning June 18th, 2018. This week we're pretty much going to sum up what the Timelapse Show is, what we're all about, and why you should be tuning in each and every week. So for instance, questions like, what is the Timelapse Show? Or what kind of features are we going to be having on this show? How often will the show be released? Why is the camera in that weird position instead of sitting right in front of us, like right here? How you can contribute to the show? Why there's a show specifically dedicated to the art of time-lapse? All stuff that we'll be talking about here on the show this week. So first of all, what exactly is the Timelapse Show? The Timelapse Show is a weekly audio and video podcast dedicated, like I said, to the art of time-lapse photography. Now, this is intended to be both a video podcast and an audio podcast. So if you're interested in the video side of things, where we'll actually be showing examples of our work on the screen, I'll be walking you through how I do things, you can tune into YouTube and catch our show there. Just go to youtube.com and look for The Timelapse Show. Make sure you have the in front of it, and look for our logo and subscribe away. One of the things I would recommend is once you do hit the subscribe button, there's going to be a little bell icon. Hit that, and then you'll be notified every time we have a new episode. If you're interested in us as an audio podcast, you can just check us out wherever you listen to your audio podcasts, whether that's through iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, all over the place. Just look for The Timelapse Show and subscribe to us, and then you'll get the show each and every week. You can also visit thetimelapseshow.com. That's our website. We'll have all the shows there, and you can listen that way as well. So how often will the show be released? The plan is to release new shows every Sunday night. So if you're watching on YouTube, if you've subscribed on YouTube, you can check for us then. If there's ever any delay on an episode, I'll make sure to post a quick comment to Facebook, Twitter, so that way you know what's going on and when to expect the show. But always look for them on Sunday nights, as that's when they will be released. So what kind of features are we going to have here on the Timelapse Show? Well, each episode primarily is going to be centered around some sort of an educational topic. For instance, shooting with different cameras. One week we'll be talking about tools that I use to help better plan for when I go out to shoot time lapses. We'll be talking about tips and tricks. We're going to be doing all sorts of fun things to help educate you on how to better your art of time-lapse production. In addition, we'll be doing some gear reviews, so things like sliders and motion control systems, just all the stuff that you need for time-lapsing we'll be talking about on the show, different types of cameras, different types of software for editing, all that stuff you're going to find a bunch of information on here, so make sure you're tuning in every week. I'll also be reviewing different time-lapse tech gadgets. There's a lot of them out there, and we're going to be talking about them. Sometimes when you're on YouTube and you see amazing time lapses, I want to find those people. I want to talk to those people. I want to see exactly what went through their brain as they were creating some of this amazing, amazing work. So I'll be interviewing different time-lapse photographers to really see how they do things and learn from them as well. I'm also going to do a feature where you can go along with me as I shoot time-lapse out in the field. So you can see exactly what I'm doing. You can see what I was going for, and I'll show you an example of those here in just a few minutes. But really a way for you to feel like you're a part of that shoot, and then send your comments about that as well so that we can all learn and grow together. I'm going to be covering a lot of industry news. So when news breaks, new products come out, we're going to be talking about those and how they might impact the different shooting that you're doing. We're also going to have audience challenges. We're going to do this through a program I call the Team Timelapse. This is where you can submit time lapses with different challenges so that way we can show those on the show. You can get some notoriety from those as well. I really think that by challenging ourselves and having a reason to push out of our comfort zone to really try for something cool is always a good idea. So we'll be doing these team time-lapse challenges on a regular basis. Stay tuned for some additional details. And finally, my time-lapse shot of the week. Every once in a while, I will find just time lapses that really amaze me and I want to share those with you. When we see what others do, it can inspire us, and we can find new great ways for us to do things. So we're always going to be taking a look at other people's work. One of the questions that I'm probably going to get is, why is the camera in this weird position up here? In most podcasts of this, or most video podcasts, or most educational courses, the camera's not going to be up here. The camera's going to be in front of me. It's going to be broadcasting this way, so that that's more of a direct communication. But I don't want this to be a class. I don't want this to be like taking a course. This is a video podcast. This is more fun. This is us having a conversation about this amazing art of time-lapse. And so I really kind of want this over the shoulder. You're standing next to me. You're looking at what I do. I'm showing you what it is that I do. And that way we can learn together. To me, it feels much more conversational in tone and less formal than just camera there filming me yapping at it. Hope that makes sense, but that's why the camera is up there and not over here. So how can you contribute to the show? There's a lot of different ways. We want to hear from you to make sure that we're answering all of your questions and we're bringing up the topics that you want to learn more about. So follow us on all of the different social media channels. If you go to Facebook, if you go to Twitter, if you go to Instagram, and you look up The Timelapse Show, again, look for our logo and follow those accounts. You're going to find us, and then you can ask away through any of those mediums. If you'd rather just talk to us directly, you can call the show. Our phone number is 541-321-0472. Leave us a voicemail. I'll hear those, and then I can play those on the show and answer your questions as well. But again, some people, they'd rather just talk, and I'm fine with that. So call the show, have your voice featured on the show, and who knows, maybe you can be a guest at some point in time as well. But make sure that I've got those questions so that I can answer those the best that I can. Now, let's back up a little bit. Why in the world do we want a video podcast, or an audio podcast even, about the art of time-lapse? What is it about this medium that warrants its own show? To me, time-lapsing is just an amazing thing. It's one of the video art forms that I love the most. When we're walking around as human beings, we really only take in the world a second, a split second, a moment at a time. We look up at the sky and we think, oh wow, look at that sunset. That looks really pretty. But we're only capturing it for, boom, that one split second of a moment. Now we might look up a few seconds later and look at it again and dissect that with our brains. But until we take that view that we've just seen, just a single instance of, and we capture it and then we speed it up, we really don't know what's going on. So time-lapse to me is a unique way to kind of get a sense of the bigger world that we live in. What is going on in the skies above us? What are those clouds doing? There's a lot of different types of time-lapse out there, but to me, they're just an absolutely inspiring medium, and it's a lot of fun both to create and to view and analyze these things as we look at the world around us completely sped up, instead of that single moment of time that just, boom, we snap our fingers and it's gone. Let's take a look at the world around us and let's analyze it and see the amazing things that are happening when we speed up time around us. Very cool, and you'll see it as we go on here on the Timelapse Show. Now, earlier on, a few minutes ago, I mentioned that we're going to have some sequences on the show where you're going to go with me on a shoot out somewhere on the planet to film a time lapse. I'm going to walk you through what I am doing, why I'm making the choices that I am, and then let you kind of see the final results. So today, let's hop on a quick flight over to Norman, Oklahoma, where I have my first tag along where you can come along with me and see exactly what I'm doing. Here's an example of what you'll be seeing more of on future shows. So here we are in Norman, Oklahoma, coming to you for our first remote, where I'm going to kind of walk you through what I'm doing here in a time-lapse project so that you can kind of see what I have in mind for this shot and what I'm hoping to accomplish. Now, right off the bat, you're going to notice I'm a little more dressed up than I ever am when I'm out shooting. I mean, it is 100 degrees outside. I'm in a button-up shirt. I don't have a baseball cap on, which is really weird. In actuality, I'm on my way to my daughter's wedding reception, so we just had an hour to kill, so I said let's pull over and do a time lapse and let's see exactly what we're doing here. So What we're shooting on today is we are shooting on a GoPro Hero 5. The reason why I'm shooting on a GoPro 5 is because both I like the really wide angle lens and because it's tiny. It's very, very small, and I can pack several of them in a small bag, especially when I'm not wanting to take a lot of luggage. So if you check out the setup here, granted, one of the things you'll notice is the camera is not on the tripod. That is because there's a little small attachment that attaches the GoPro to the top of the tripod. Very easy to forget. I have 3 or 4 of them lying around, and I managed to forget all of them. So that's okay, because I still have the little connector arm so I can connect it up with the tripod. I also noticed that I have the tripod really low. That's because there's a really high wind going on here. If you can't hear it on the mics already. But if I have the tripod too high, then it may be affected by the wind. The lower I can go, the better, the more stable it's going to be, and the less blowing around and movement I'm going to get during that time-lapse shot. So what I'm doing is I'm looking out at this field here. You'll notice where the sun is. The sun is on its way down, which, again, not ideal. It's just the time of day I had and the best shot. But what I'm really trying to get is the movement of the clouds. Might be hard to see with this particular camera, but I'm really hoping that once I put it into post-production, I put it in the computer, I can move the colors up to really make those clouds pop. And that's one of those things in time-lapse. You have to kind of know what you're doing and then guess and experiment and hope that what you're doing is right, because it's not like clicking the button and your shot is done. You click the button and we wait for an hour. Speaking of the time, let's go through the settings. I am, like I said, on the GoPro Hero 5. I'm shooting with an interval of 10 seconds. That means every 10 seconds it's taking another shot. We'll talk in future episodes about different intervals and why I like some more than I like others and the different uses for those. But for today, suffice it to say that we're doing this for 10 seconds. Every 10 seconds it takes a shot, and then it's going to put that together, and that's going to really easily allow me to see these clouds right out here and see what their movement is. So that's what we've got going on. Fingers crossed. The goal of these segments is to take you with us as the viewers or listeners to the podcast so that you can see exactly what I'm doing, how I'm framing the shots, what I'm hoping to get, and then we can look at the results together so that we can see if it really did work. That said, let's talk about composition for just a minute. So what is it that I'm going for here in this windy outside shot? Now, if you look around, there's neighborhoods this way. There's a Walmart Supercenter over here, which is definitely not what I want from a time lapse. So I am going for this little sliver of countryside out here. I've got kind of a bigger tree in the middle that I can use for foreground. I've got trees farther away in the background, and then I've got the sun that's setting into the shot. So one of the things that I like to do, especially when I'm time-lapsing, is I don't want to focus in this situation on the bottom, the foreground. Not much is happening exciting on the ground. So what I'm going to want to do is I want to move the camera up. So only maybe a quarter of the bottom of the frame is on the ground. The rest, we just want this big, beautiful Oklahoma sky behind us so that we can kind of see what that looks like and how that goes. So we're going to pull the time lapse in when I get back to my studio in Oregon. We're going to see how it looks. We can analyze the shot there, and we can see exactly how we're going to improve it. But look for this kind of stuff in the future as I take you on site with me to shoot and to see exactly how all of this works. And that way we can all learn and grow together. And now we're back in our regular studio here in Oregon to wrap things up. But before we do, I want to share with you one of the things I talked about earlier, which is my time-lapse shot of the week. This week's shot is from an Australian videographer named Peter Mayer. And this is something that's gone viral over the last week. I've seen it pop up a lot of times on social media, but it's this amazing shot. I love seeing amazing weather. I love seeing it both with the naked eye, and I love being able to photograph it with time-lapse photography. This guy saw something really cool. We're going to show it right now. Now, this to me is really amazing. Not only because he caught some sort of crazy cool weather phenomenon as it was moving across the valley, but for the fact that he didn't like grab his gear and freak out and run away, because time-lapse gear is not cheap. And so when I see that amount of weather coming at it, that can be a little bit scary. But kudos to him for grabbing something great. If you have time-lapse that you're really impressed with, you say, this is something really cool out of the box, again, make sure to share it with us, and we will feature it on the show in an upcoming segment. So that wraps up show number 1. Nothing too long and crazy this week. I just wanted to be able to share with you what my vision of the show was, how often it's going to be coming out. So remember, contact us and follow us throughout the week on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, as we showcase examples there. Just look for The Timelapse Show, look for our logo, and then subscribe so that you can have all the latest updates and keep up with the show. I'll see you next week, where I look at a very detailed look at the history of time-lapse so we can see where this amazing art form came from. And until then, go out, shoot some amazing stuff, share it with us, and come back for another episode of The Timelapse Show.